Welcome back everyone to another Company of Heroes 2 Rebecast. And this time, as you can see, it's going to be a 2v2 on the most annoying map in the world, Road to Kharkov. And yeah, it's going to be sent in by Ugandan Knuckles, I'm pretty sure at least, because it was sent in by Samanescu, and I think this is him, I think. He might be Tiger? I don't know. Both of these profiles are private, so I have no clue. Anyway, his ally is Tiger. It's one Wehrmacht and one OKW versus Sanglok 3939 and Marin, or Marin, or Marin, as the UKF and Soviets. Oh boy, this map is so annoying. I hate it so much. It's just, I hate it. Roads. There's points in the open, no cover anywhere. There's sometimes some annoying buildings. It's just, I hate it so much. And it's so narrow, so both sides are going to have a lot of problems if something like machine gun spam happens. Which, to be fair, seems to be happening already. Alright. First engagement is going to be a little bit of a toss-up. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the Brits are going to win this with the machine gun in the building, where the infantry sections, who are making a mistake by not standing near the wall with heavy cover, because for some reason, okay, this is something that always kind of weirds me out about Company of Heroes. Like, there's the wall, right, and the wall is heavy cover, and behind there's some boxes. So if you're standing behind the boxes, that's yellow cover, even though you're standing behind the wall and the boxes. I don't even know anymore. Oh well, I mean, they can program in directional cover, but they cannot program in that the cover directionally works even if you're technically not behind the cover. Anyway, yeah, pretty good damage dealt by the machine gun to the Stern Pioneers as expected. I mean, that was never going to be a match the Stern Pioneers could win at most ranges, especially at medium to long range, as this one is. Seems like in the south, there's not much really going on. We have a combat engineer squad trying to charge through, and there's a Volksgrenadier. No, that's not a Volksgrenadier. That's the normal Grenadiers. The normal Grenadiers are easily smashing them, but some help comes in the form of these conscripts. In the north, we have a couple of nice infantry sections pushing up and getting to that heavy cover, exactly how the infantry sections should do. Whoa, that guy got sort of flown around. Exactly how these infantry sections should do in the early game, getting behind that big heavy cover to get that bonus towards the rate of fire. That's just so good, and that allows the Brits to have a pretty good advantage in the early game, which is really the moment where the Brits are supposed to be the weakest, so making good use of that. Ugandan Knuckles pushing up with his Pioneers, getting a nice harassment on the cutoff point. However, his Pioneers get stopped by just at the last possible second by the conscripts, which is kind of annoying. And for him, what's also annoying is this Maxim, which is now, of course, trying to suppress all the Grenadiers, but it does not see the second Grenadier squad. Second Grenadier squad, which is now going to try to flank around the machine gun Zark of Fire. It's not going to work, though, as there's a lot of conscripts covering the rear of that weapon. In the north, we have a couple of pretty good infantry sections pushing up and doing their own thing. They've got the machine gun set up in that building, and they've got a UC that can upgrade both the machine gun and the flamethrower. Battle group headquarters going up for Tiger, and that's of course going to be quite good at this kind of a juncture. As you can see, pretty close to the action. It's going to be able to reinforce the troops that are coming onto the battlefield relatively easily. Nice push coming in from the allies, grabbing control of the strategic house and also flanking around the machine gun with some infantry sections. In the meantime, though, these infantry section units are just getting massacred by the horde of Volksgrenadiers and Sternpiles. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that this squad is also going to bite the bullet fairly soon, although getting a nice bit of suppression off from the Vickers. Going to get the extra suppression from the suppressing fire of the UC, which is of course area of effect. And unfortunately, well, this thing is about to complete, and so we have the Panzerfaust available, but Panzerfaust is not going to be fired because they're a little bit too far away. In the meantime, however, the southern player, Sanglok, made good use of that distraction up north and was able to capture essentially the entire south. The problem is he's got his machine gun into a pretty good location to defend against the Wehrmacht guy, but there's this tree, and the tree was providing enough cover to the Volksgrenadiers, and the Volksgrenadiers are now coming down south, trying to get to this mortar, I think, and, well, not really having the best of luck at it. They're getting crossfired by the OC and the conscripts, so at this point they're going to have to in some way escape. In the center, the MG42 Gonna set up again behind these sandbags in the little fortified position. Right now, it seems like the allies are gonna get pushed away from the sort of furthest points that they've reached, although this Volksgrenadier squad might go down. No negative cover in the path of retreat, and that means that they escape. Nice usage of the flamethrower to get them out of the tractor, which provides heavy cover, of course. And mortars are firing from the allied players, doing quite well, actually. Getting 2 near wipes, actually. And, ooh, Panzerfaust comes in. Double Panzerfaust, and there goes the Universal Carrier. Well done. That was actually a Vickers K upgraded Universal Carrier, so it's even harder to lose that. It's going to be a nice bit of a blow to the enemy munitions. Also, more mortar fire coming through on those Pioneers. Yeah, it seems like the Allies getting pushed away slightly, but they still have some pretty good defenses up here in the north. They're building a trench. They're building, you know, they've got their machine gun in the building. And in the south, they have that mortar, which is doing quite well. Unfortunately, the Maxim is getting flanked, or rather, unfortunately for them, the Maxim is getting flanked by a lot of Grenadiers. The Grenadiers, though, are getting flanked themselves by some conscripts. There's just a lot of negative cover around here, which is going to make any engagement relatively deadly. As you can see, these Grenadiers are eating quite a lot of fire, but they managed to essentially massacre all the conscripts. And the Sturmpiles up here managed to force away those conscripts as well. So this conscript squad is now going to have to retreat through negative cover across 3 Grenadier squads. If these Grenadiers were to concentrate their fire on the conscript, I think he would have died, but they were shooting at the mortar crew, which is annoying. In the north, we have no changes around the battlefield, it seems like, but we have a pretty big push coming through for Tiger, and Tiger with those Volksgrenadiers is going to be a bit of a terror in the early game. However, he's going to run straight into the machine gun, and so the Vickers is probably going to suppress this entire blob and force them back, which wouldn't be all that far. I mean, we have the battle headquarters, but no retreat point. So, because he does not have the second supply half-track, that got nerfed in the last patch, and so, yeah, that's going to take a little bit of getting used to for both players. Both players? Well, no, the other player is not an OKW, so definitely not both players. Anyway, we have Tier 2 coming through for Ugandan Knuckles, and why is there no music? Damn, unnatural silence falls over the battlefield. And then the Grenadier squad gets built, and the announcer guy just decides to be a dick. Anyway, yeah, he's got the Tier 2 going with, you know, the Wehrmacht. That could mean a flame half-track, but we are pretty late, and of course he doesn't really have a lot of munitions anyway, because he's probably upgrading. Yeah, he's upgrading some LMG 42s, so that's quite okay. And on the opposing side, what do we have for tiers? Well, of course, we have mechanized coming in, which is weird. For tiers, we have, well, AEC, so that's Tier 2, and the AEC upgrade, whereas his buddy Sanglock is Tier 3. So that's, well, probably going to mean a T-70. I don't know. He does have a KV-1 bulletin, so I wonder if he was going to wait for the KV-1 with the conscript support tactics. That would be an interesting option for him. And right now the AC is taking a bit of beating from this Reckenwerfer, so it should probably retreat, pop some smoke. It's definitely being a little bit too overzealous, I guess you could say, and just kind of staying where it shouldn't. In the south, we have a bit of a push from the Germans, just forcing away the Soviets back to the base, which is, of course, quite good for the Germans. But with this machine gun, well, they have a bit of a secure base to retreat to. They should be able to at least keep the fuel point under control, and now they can recapture the connecting point to the fuel point. So that's quite good for them. However, there's this machine gun over here, which is going to suppress all the conscripts. So well done by Ugandan Knuckles, pushing up and getting his machine gun sort of up as well, pushing it up accordingly with his infantry, so that it cover his own troops as they're making their advances. That's pretty good. Second machine gun also doing its job, and now all the conscripts are having to retreat. There's a T-70 coming through, however, and Ugandan Knuckles doesn't have any anti-tank. He's going for a Panzer Grenadier squad instead of an anti-tank gun, which is, in my opinion, a bit of a mistake, and not just because I can see the T-70 coming through. That's also because he's got 2 machine guns, so it's not like, well, 2 machine guns plus 3 Grenadiers, so it's not like he needs a little bit of extra anti-infantry from the Panzer Grenadiers. Of course, he could be trying to upgrade them to the Panzerschrecks, but with 51 munitions, he's not going to have enough munitions to get those Panzerschrecks, so no, he's getting them for the anti-infantry value that they provide. And it's not like he needs units to cap around the map, because he's already reached up to the enemy base and can, you know, decap the fuel point and the cutoff point at pretty much will. So this T-70 is going to come through and just kind of marauder through the back lines of the Soviets. It's going to only need to be careful about Panzerfausts, and that's exactly what these Grenadiers are trying to go for, and it's going to work because the T-70 doesn't really decide to retreat. Well, at least that's going to buy a little bit of time to the Germans. We have some artillery coming through from the British base, trying to get a little bit of a kill on these Volksgrenadiers and the Raketenwerfer, which is getting some shots into that AEC, but it gets massacred at the last possible second by the sappers. The sappers get massacred by an LEAG support gun and the Volksgrenadiers. The Volksgrenadiers, in turn, are forced away by these infantry sections. The other Volksgrenadier squad, I think, was trying to get to the Raketenwerfer, but it decided to throw an incendiary grenade at the Raketenwerfer to, I guess, prevent the enemies from going in and capturing it, although this is going to last like a few seconds, and after that they can just kind of come in and take it. Oh, well, it's going to buy a little bit of time, and we have raid operation popped to get the quick capture on the cutoff point, which is quite the smart idea, actually, and didn't really think of that. Only 50 munitions, well, not really the cheapest thing ever, but definitely quite useful. In fact, what he could do right now is move these troops back up and take the fuel point as well. That would be, I think, pretty useful for him. Just to have the extra bit of annoyance on the German side. They're going to have to not only recapture the strategic point, but also recapture the fuel point. And also, of course, it might get the fuel point for him, which would be quite useful. However, it seems like he decided to build a trench, and he's taking a lot of damage, and the trench is not going to be completed. We have vehicle repair, actually, self-repair coming through for the AEC, and that's, well... Wait, the self-repair is now not... Oh, it's now not universal. It's just a single unit. Oh, I didn't know. Anyway, we have a bit of law in the action. Let's speed it up. What are these players going for? I have no idea what Tiger is trying to do. He's got 150 fuel, 2 of the early battle headquarters and stuff set up. So he might be going for, I don't know, the Command Panther? I have no idea. Or he might be waiting until, oh, he's going for a Stuka. I think that's a mistake. But it could work out for him. I mean, it's not like his opponents are lacking for infantry or support weapons. And, well, okay, so Uganda Knuckles did get a Pack 40. That's a very good idea. What is he going for? I don't see... Okay, so he's going for the Battle Phase 2 and might want to upgrade for the Battle Phase 3. Of course, it's relatively cheap to get the building for the Battle Phase 2, but, you know, who knows what he's going for. I think that in his, like, position, a Panzer IV wouldn't be too bad. That's what I would probably try to do. And, no, that's a bunker. I thought it was tier 3. Anyway. AC is doing quite well for Marin, but it looks like it's going to go down finally. We have Smoke Pop, though, just at the last possible second, and no attack round following through. Oh, no, it did follow through, but this kind of looks like it missed. And we have the Stuka on the field. This could be dangerous. This could be very, very dangerous. In the meantime, in the south, we have a bit of a bit of action. We have the anti-tank gun destroying the T-70. Well done by our good friend Uganda Knuckles. And of course, he's still got 170 fuel, so I wonder what he's going to go for. Looks like the Stuka hasn't fired yet, and the north is still under the control of the British, but only just. Seems like the machine guns over here are not really in action anymore, not really operational. They're still coming back, and well, these Volksgrenadiers might even be able to get. They will not do. That's sad. Now it could have stolen the trench. That's something that you can do this patch. That's very, very good. And ooh, looks like the Stuka barrage is going to be called down on the south. And the Stuka is not going to destroy the little shack in one hit, thanks nerfs. And that's going to allow that Maxim to escape with just a tiny sliver of health. Well, actually, tiny sliver of health on the building. The mortar also escapes with basically no HP, but the Maxim was mostly unscathed. The wooden shack of Mother Russia, the Izba over here, saving their life against 300mm rockets or something like that. What caliber are these rockets anyway? I think it's like 280mm. 380 is the Storm Tiger. I think that's like 200 and something. Oh well. So the house definitely proving its Stalinwood construction. Looks like the Stalinwood construction, though, is not going to be protecting these guys from the LEAG support guns, though, which are more deadly than anything. But, oh, nice. Actually massacring the Sturm Pioneers with that machine gun. So Vickers reliving a little bit of Werewolf Run over here, getting in the trench and mowing down some Germans. Well done by him, of course. basically the entire north is still under control of the Brits. The problem is, as you can see, there's a massive gap between what the Soviets are holding down here in the south and what the Germans could do up here, getting through, pushing in. Whereas in the north, we have, of course, just the stronghold of the Brits that's easily flankable. The only thing that's defending this whole area is the AEC plus the Royal Engineers. And if the Germans were to get some vehicles, as you can see, the Pioneers have just built a support armor corps, so there might be some Panzer IVs coming through, some medium tanks. If they can punch through this area, get behind the Brits, and kind of push back these infantry units by surrounding them and making them be like, oh no, we have to run away, I think the Germans have a fairly good chance of dislodging them from the north, which would be definitely quite good because these annoying Brits have been sort of sim-citying it up in the north for quite a bit, and the Soviets are really the ones that have been getting pushed back. It looks like we have some conscript support tactics picked, so yes, I apparently was right in the end that, you know, the bulletin was telling us something, and wow. Oh, wow. The AC died. The AC died dead from the Stuka? I mean, most of the damage there was from the Stuka. Looks like it was like a combination of Stuka damage plus Pak 40 damage. Damn, 2 vehicles destroyed. Yeah, one of them was the T-70, and then the other one must be the AC. Okay, so the Pak 40, once again, proving its worth, destroying both of the, you know, Allied light vehicles. That's a very, very good achievement. However, looks like he's advanced to the next level, and now the Cromwell's coming in. I'm not sure what the Cromwell's doing right now. It upgraded the command guy, but the command guy is only really looking with the binoculars. Now, finally, they're coming in, and, well, what are they going to do? What are they going to do with that Cromwell? It's basically unopposed right now in terms of medium armor, but the problem still are these 2 anti-tank guns that the Germans have, so you're going to need to be a little bit careful with the Cromwell to not run into an anti-tank gun, and especially careful not to run into any Panzerfausts, which are, plentiful in the German battlefield right now, and we do have a Panzer IV on the field, so of course, right now the Cromwell tries to push through, but it's going to eat a Panzerfaust in the rear, went way too close to these Volksgrenadiers. The aim of the game with this tank is to stay away from the infantry, and he did not do that. At this point, I think that the Cromwell is going to go down. The Panzer IV eyes the kill, and it's gonna run in to finish him off like a hunter with its spray. Here comes the incendiary grenade, dealing a lot of damage to these infantry sections, and right now the Panzer IV is gonna push through smoke and fire and get the last remaining shot that he needed. Well done. Of course, at this point, the entirety of the right side collapses. There's only a machine gun over here that can sort of defend this whole area. The Brits were floating a pretty massive amount of manpower. They're building an anti-tank gun, they're building 2 anti-tank guns, and they still have 330 manpower. That means that they had 1,000 saved up. Definitely not good. What if those 2 anti-tank guns were present, or 1 anti-tank gun and 1 machine gun were present? Maybe the machine gun could have suppressed those Volksgrenadiers, preventing them from getting the Panzerfaust into the Cromwell. The anti-tank guns might have been able to repel the Panzer IV earlier, so use your manpower. But the manpower was used in the Soviet side. Here comes Big KV-1. KV-1 does not care about Little Panzer IV, and Little Panzer IV is going to eat anti-tank grenade from glorious Soviet conscript, and KV-1 now fearlessly pushing into German invader armor and is going to be able to destroy him, although nice popping of the Panzer Tactician, not really caring for the attack round. Attack round misses, and the anti-tank gun does manage to get a stun in with the target weak point. That was very, very well done. The KV-1 is still around, gets one last shot in for revenge, but it does not manage to get the kill, and it also manages to escape with basically no HP. Well done by both sides in conserving their vehicles, although that KV-1 was very unfortunate in missing that attack round shot right over there. That was pretty bad, though, because the KV-1 at this point, now that the Germans know, that the big beast is coming, they're going to be much more prepared for it. This thing is slow as hell, and so the first engagement going badly for it is pretty bad. Conscript support tactics, of course, is not just KV-1. As the name implies, conscripts are involved, and the Papashas are definitely allowing them to get involved against these Panzer Grenadiers, basically just massacring them. The problem for the conscript support tactics, well, the problems are manifold, but mostly the KV-1's basically worthless. As much as that first engagement was relatively impressive, it's just very expensive for what it does. It's 145 and 420, so it's very expensive considering what it does. Sorry, water. Which is not much. I mean, it's a big, slow, heavy tank. Not the slowest of heavies, but relatively slow. Doesn't have the best armor. Doesn't have the best gun. In fact, it's got a pretty shitty gun. And so, overall, it's just a big target. And it's relatively good at that. So if you have something important to protect, like an SU, the KV1 can be pretty good. But as I was about to say, the KV8 is much better at dealing with infantry, costs basically the same as the KV1, and comes in better doctrines anyway. So that's kind of my whole opinion on the deal. If you want the sort of middle tier heavy tank between the S2 and not having a heavy tank, I guess you could just go with the KV8, you know, and get a better doctrine anyway, like terror tactics or shock rifle frontline, instead of conscript support or counterattack is, I don't know, it's gimmicky. And right now, it seems like these anti-tank guns are in trouble. No machine gun. What happened to the Vickers? It probably blew up thanks to that Stuka strike. Definitely doing quite well with that. And, oh, wait, no. I think that's the Vickers. Yep, it is the Vickers. Well, might have been blown up by the Stuka, but doesn't matter at this point. Now it's German. All right. Ooh. Looks like the divisional field gun is getting involved. So now the roles are kind of getting reversed. It's the Brits that are taking it in the rear, and it's the Soviets that are starting to give it in return to the Germans. The problem is, though, the Germans are heading very, very much into the late game. As you can see, Uganda Knuckles very close to that Tiger. Here comes a target weak point on that KV1. KV1, which is already relatively slow, is going to be even more stunned. Right now, a massive incendiary artillery barrage is going to force all of the German troops to retreat, which is going to save the KV. Well done. Interesting Panzer tactician and blitzkrieg pop from the Panzer IV, which was quite afraid of the anti-tank gun. Right now, though, should probably use some flares, by the way. Flares are pretty good. Stuka's going to get ready to get another devastating salvo into the Allies. Yeah, I was saying, the Germans are getting ready for the late game. We have the Tiger coming through for Uganda Knuckles. We have, of course, this Panzer IV that's getting vetted up. And Tiger, I wonder what he's going for. He's going for a Panther. Panther, which could get paired up with a Command Panther or a Jagdtiger in the future. So overall, ooh, quite a lot of big German things coming in. Nice button grenade is going to get dodged. And right now there is another Cromwell on the field for Marin. Definitely Marin should be looking towards late game. I mean, the Cromwells are fine, but needs to get a Comet or something, or, well, Fireflies, because it's not like the Germans are going to really rely on these infantry units forever. And even with the infantry units, well, the Cromwell isn't going to be all that strong, because you can just have a Raketenwerfer, you know, around all the time, so, The Raketenwerfer can easily counter that, so that's going to be a little bit difficult to use the Cromwell well. Anyway, what's going to be even more difficult at this point is going to be to use the KV1 well, as the Tiger is now around. And so the KV1 is basically at this point relegated to, well, I'm going to shoot some infantry and eat some damage from that 88mm. Although, these two tanks run straight into the anti-tank gun, and they're shooting at the KV instead of at the anti-tank gun, which is, in my opinion, a mistake, because the anti-tank gun is a lot more dangerous than the KV. And that's going to allow the anti-tank gun and the KV to do a lot of damage to this P4. The P4 is taking some nasty fire, and we don't have enough munitions for our German players to pop smoke because he used the recon run. He was very lucky that that Panzer IV, wow, incredibly lucky again. Very lucky that the Panzer IV bounced 2 shots over there, and then the abandoned with the last remaining shot required to kill it is going to allow the Germans to recapture that. There's some Pioneers running in as we speak. Su-85 charges in to try to deal with the Tiger. Looks like the something died. It was the Cromwell. The Cromwell died to the Panther. Panther charging into the base. I'm sorry, I was looking at the other front and I couldn't really look at that. And right now it seems like the north is collapsing for the Allies, whereas the south was just a little bit of a headbutt for both sides. Both of them kind of just falling back down to the floor in pain, but they're going to be able to recover from that. Still, well done with the Panther, of course, chasing in very boldly all the way to the base, using the fact that it's the Brits against them, and so there's not really any danger of getting your vehicle detracked by anti-tank grenades. Well, of course, there could be mines, but I guess he didn't care. I guess he didn't care any one bit. He does not have any Stern Pioneers, so he's going to have to rely on the automatrons from the mechanized regiment headquarters to repair his vehicles. I think that's a bad idea. Get some Stern Pioneers. They're more versatile. Of course, you can come back and repair on the automatrons, but the Stern Pioneers also are going to give you those repair kits. Not repair kits. Well, yeah, they're repair kits, but of course, it's the... what are they called? Minesweepers. Lovely. Yeah, you always need to be careful whenever you're using rocket artillery or just any kind of artillery. These trees block shots. So don't get too close to the trees because the trees are going to block you. And, well, are you going to run them over? No. Still, the Axis getting stronger. We have another P4 actually from Ugandan Knuckles. Not going for the tier 4, just spamming those mobile units. I approve. I approve, I approve, I approve. Getting a lot of those P4s. They're good, they're versatile, they're cheap. They're just all that you need to support that Tiger. And the Tiger is basically just a big Panzer IV in Company of Heroes. I mean, it's not as fast, but it's basically got the same roles, right? It's relatively decent at fighting everything, so you can just kind of send it in. You can flank, you can do a lot of different things with the Tiger, so it's not like it's gonna make it a lot harder to manage what you already have. Of course, the drawback is that it doesn't really give you any capabilities that you don't have with the Panzer IVs, except perhaps it's a little bit tankier, so you can, I guess, tank some anti-tank gun shots a little bit more securely with that thing. But yeah, I mean, if you wanted some heavier anti-infantry, you perhaps should have gone with, like, you know, going for the tier 4 and getting the Brumbear or something, but it's not like he needs that. So I think the Tiger plus the 2 Panzer IVs is a pretty good build for him right now. The Germans have a triple cap going right now, 422 VPs against 224. That's basically just a yeah, it's a basically a death sentence for the Allies. They still have, like, I don't know, 3.5 minutes to respond to this, but I don't know. The Germans are on the offensive. They're marshalling the tanks. They're charging in. The Su-85 is there, and the Su-85 can do some pretty good things against them, but the Su-85 is just one vehicle. It's going to do a lot of damage against the P4, but the P4 eventually can just get behind an obstacle. It's also, well, it's not going to pop smoke. It's going to die. Still, yeah, despite the Panzer IV dying and none of the Allied vehicles dying, the terrain is going to fall to the Germans, and the Allies are going to surrender. Oh, God. I definitely think that the British player with his Cromwell spam did put a little bit of a dent in the Allied chances to win this game. However, the Soviet player in the early game perhaps should have gone with the penals. And I say this despite the fact that I really don't like penals, because like, he just didn't have enough to stop the German tide where it was needed. He wasn't really able to secure his side long enough to, you know, get some defenses going in the center, or to help his ally get some defenses going in the center, so that left his ally in a bit of a precarious position up here. He couldn't really exploit his breakthroughs into the south. He couldn't really, couldn't really do too much. In the end, though, he did end up screwing his team by not getting any Fireflies, which is, in my opinion, a bit of a mistake. Yeah, that rocket artillery worked out pretty well for the Germans. In general, the Germans were able to vet up their infantry a lot more, despite the fact that these British troops do have some veterancy under them. They didn't really seem to do too much because they were holed up in the north the whole time, whereas the Germans had a little bit of a map control advantage throughout the entire game because they were able to use their infantry better, and they were able to coordinate their infantry better with their other units. And overall, that just did basically everything for them. And in the end, they got the triple cap. The Allies were pushed back out of the field. Of course, the Soviet player did not have enough support weapons to sort of defend from the hordes of German infantry that were just more versatile. They could just send one unit in, eat the fire from the Maxim, and then come around with other units and force the Maxim away. Once the Maxim is forced away, the Soviet conscripts can't really do too much against the German heavy sort of infantry. And then at that point, they're just running away. Of course, well done with the tanks. The Tiger basically called in relatively quickly. There was a pretty good timing there with the Tiger. As soon as he had 13 VPs, he had just the amount of fuel and manpower required. He did not save too much. did not save too little. He just had the timing required for the Tiger perfectly down and got that Tiger. Of course, he had a Tiger on the P4 that was just, that was pretty good. It allowed them to have just the medium tank that could come in, be fast, be scouty, kind of pop the smoke, and then have the heavy tank come in and finish the job. The Allies, on the other hand, well, I mean, the KV-1, as you saw, it wasn't really able to do anything. It's got 2 stars of veterancy, but only 3 kills, so it didn't really end up doing anything. The Cromwells didn't do anything, and yeah, it was just kind of sad. So anyway, I want to thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.